If advisors aren't doing much, most of the time what happens, well, on those, rare occasions, well, that's when there's inflection points. When you lose your job, when someone gets ill in the family, God forbid somebody dies, right? You have to move across state lines. Now, all of a sudden, you have all sorts of confusion going on with what's happening with your money, right? Money is moving. It could be moving fast. It could be getting taxed. You could be having some sort of a consequence or a risk that you're afraid of, like having to change your budget or having to move money into a place that you're not comfortable. So all of a sudden, all at once, there's a lot of questions that need answering in a short period of time with a lot of sensitivity and a lot of consequence. And a good financial advisor is there for precisely those moments. Jessica, can sometimes be both refreshing, but also a little bit scary when you're met with just pure, honest feedback or sometimes inquiry in a client meeting. I don't think I had the opportunity to tell you this, but we had our first annual review with a newer client. Mm-hmm. So first time we've kind of looked backwards over 365 days. Mm-hmm. And I asked them, as I always do, what do you want to talk about today? I've got an agenda, but I'm interested in what it is you want to go over.
Nice.
And they more or less said, we actually wanted to kind of get a sense of what exactly you do.
After a year.
It's been 365 days. There was a lot of work in the early stages. We met every couple of weeks doing tax planning, investment planning, the legal stuff. And then there was 7, 8, 9 months where not a lot happened, and we're not upset. The market's up, but you didn't have anything really to do with that. So what have you been up to and why are we paying you?
Yeah. I don't know if that's technically a red flag, but it's concerning for people to be like, what would you say you do here? Throw back to Office Space.
Let's break this down though by first taking a couple steps back. I think there are things that we consider acceptable to do it yourself on, and then other things you wouldn't even dream of doing. So take as an example, some people change their own oil, but some people don't because it's dirty or confusing or whatever.
I don't trust the car on the ramps and my body underneath it.
So, but if someone told you, hey, I changed my own oil, you'd be like, yeah, that seems normal to me. Sure. What if someone told you that they had performed their own appendectomy?
Probably not great. Or maybe this is like a Christian Bale movie or something.
Yeah, because not only is that just startling and odd, right? But it sounds very painful and you probably hurt yourself and it's obviously a crazy example, but you get the point. People don't do their own dentistry, right? But if somebody says, I do my own financial planning, nobody bats an eye as to whether that's dirty or difficult or painful. They just assume yeah, of course. Why not? Why wouldn't you?
Similar taxes. Even in fact, some of our clients say, I do my own taxes.
So
you can.
What do you assume that when somebody does their own financial planning, that they do it as well as a professional?
No.
Okay.
Not unless they're literally a financial planner.
Okay. So break it down for me. What might they be missing? Where could they be taking a left turn?
I think you can miss a lot of things. We have a lot of clients that come in here that are actually highly analytical engineers. We're in New England. We have a lot of engineering defense contracts firms around us, and a lot of them will come in super smart individuals, men and women come in here with these spreadsheets that are really long, but they're often missing a couple things on it. Maybe they're not taking into consideration inflation. Maybe if they're not taking into consideration if they have a healthcare event. Mostly they're not taking into consideration the what happens if they, the conductor of the whole plan, should happen to pass and their spouse is left to execute.
Sure.
Can that other spouse do what you're doing here today?
So you're talking about continuity.
Sure.
Yeah. I think there's a host of different issues. I mean, just starting with some of the more mundane, it's time consuming. Financial planning isn't just one thing. I think sometimes people think of, well, I check in with my 401k a couple times a year and I move my mutual funds around. Okay. So that's part of your financial plan, but it's not the entirety of it, right? When we're financial planning, we got to do budgeting. We got to do tax planning. We have to do benefits management for all the our healthcare, our dental care, our life insurance, our dental insurance. So it's looking at our bank accounts and making sure we're getting maximum interest. It's looking at our loans and making sure that we're paying them down and in a timely fashion. It's looking at the budget, not in terms of just scouting it out, but scouring it. Mm-hmm. There's probably expenses in there that you don't need anymore, subscriptions that should have been terminated that are just stubbornly sticking around. You go deeper than that, it's the investments, it's the tax maneuvers, it's the contributions and the savings. Where do they go? Into whose account? Does it go pre-tax or after tax? Then there's the legal and there's the tax prep. So by now, if you were just counting on your fingers and toes, I mean, there's a lot that has to be done on some amount of a periodic basis to say that you're doing all of your financial planning yourself.
Not only is there sometimes a lot that needs to be done, but on the other side of the coin, sometimes you don't want to do a whole heck of a lot. Once you've done a lot of this initial planning, sometimes doing things is just for the sake of doing it, but not because that's in the best interest of the plan. I think a lot of people can think about like the tickers and, all these like a piece of paper on the floor and buy, sell. And, without getting into like what tactical money managers do, a lot of people think you need to be doing something to earn your money over here. When in fact, sometimes you don't want to make those changes all the time.
So I think that kind of ties into the question I was being asked. Like, it seems like you're only doing things sporadically or periodically throughout the year. It's not like a day-to-day thing. So like, what are you doing? So my response to that was an honest one. A good financial advisor, in my opinion, most of the time, 90% plus, probably looks kind of useless because the market, more often than not, is going up. Changes aren't necessarily like being proactively made. You only have to change what your investments are doing and review your budget and look at your benefits like a couple of times a year.
Yeah, we have like quarterly rebalancing and stuff like that. So it's not like we haven't touched the plan in a year, but you're not day trading.
But this is all understandably true because these are long-term plans for the most part. If we needed to change what you were doing daily or weekly because of the news cycle or similar, then plans would not be plans, right? They'd be this like adaptive thing that it would have to be changed all the time. It would be like more or less controlled chaos, right? So a plan, of course, means that we're long-sighted and we're sticking to something. And then, of course, this invites, well, what happens the other 10% of the time? If advisors aren't doing much, most of the time, what happens, well, on those, rare occasions, well, that's when there's inflection points. When you lose your job, when someone gets ill in the family, God forbid somebody dies, right? You have to move across state lines. Now, all of a sudden, you have all sorts of confusion going on with what's happening with your money, right? Money is moving. It could be moving fast. It could be getting taxed. You could be having some sort of a consequence or a risk that you're afraid of, like having to change your budget or having to move money into a place that you're not comfortable. So all of a sudden, all at once, there's a lot of questions that need answering in a short period of time with a lot of sensitivity and a lot of consequence. And a good financial advisor is there for precisely those moments.
I'd say too, even if you are nails, you're hitting 100%, your accounts are the most tax efficient as possible. You've thought about a healthcare event, like your legacy plan, you thought it all out. Do you also want to be the person that's in charge of your plan when you're 70, 80, 90? Is that going to be you like all the way through?
Yeah, you keep bringing this up. You're worried about what happens when we get, is it because right now, like you're worried about what happens to me when, okay.
I see your future, Mike.
Yeah.
It's not looking good.
Okay. I'm reading you loud and clear.
No, I think it's just something you have to consider about having that, professional in your corner. You don't need a personal trainer, right? Like, people understand what to eat, what not to eat, when to work out. But then why do they exist, right? Because sometimes people like want to invest in something that they think is really important, like their health or their fitness goals or their nutrition goals. I think also your financial goals are something worth investing into.
Yeah. So this is where the conversation went. I said, so a good financial advisor might not look like they're doing much most of the time, but a good financial advisor is a coach, and they're going to bring you to where you want to be with your money to have it do the things that you want to do. And now, of course, this response at first confused these nice people. So that paranoia that helped you build your wealth will stand in your way when you go to enjoy it. I think some people, they don't graduate from looking at money as a safety net or like their security blanket. Money is a tool. Mm-hmm. So what do you use money for? Certainly for safety-oriented things, keep a roof over your head and food in the fridge. But once you graduate beyond having a certain amount of money, the tool can be used to enhance your life.
We have to ask, what's the purpose? What's this purpose of this tool? You can't be mad at a hammer because it can't screw in a screw. That's not the purpose of it. So what is the purpose of your money? What's it here for? Is it here for safety and security? Is it here for pleasure and enjoyment? And I think to know how much do I need in each of the bucket, that's why you really do need a coach.
Well, it's, again, to enjoy yourself, but also when. Mm-hmm. When are you going to enjoy yourself? So this particular couple, they're younger, they're industrious, they're saving a lot because they want to retire on the earlier side. So for them, their money is a tool that they're going to enjoy in the future. So I just start asking them questions about, well, how's the present going? Mm-hmm. How are the cars driving right now? What's going on around the house? Any squeaky appliances, old linoleum? How are those kids? They're getting old, right? Are you starting to become a little bit less cool? They're spending less time with mom and dad, more time with their friends, right? How do you feel about that? And this is where, the wife in particular opened up a little bit and said, you know what, I figure that we only have a couple more years when mom and dad are still kind of cool to hang out with. And there's some trips that we haven't taken. I think they mentioned Disney, some other kind of like classic American trips that you take with the kids, but we just don't feel like we can afford to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I said to them, well, the reason you can't afford to do it is because you're saving so much for your future. What if, gasp, and God forbid here, we took the pedal off the floor a little bit in terms of saving for our 60s and did something with our kids before these like precious years that you have with them have come and gone. Now, at first they're squirming. Like, sure. I just threw holy water on a demon, right? Like, what are you suggesting that I do? Did I back down my contributions into my 401k? Did I not save for our future? Yeah, that's precisely what I am suggesting. And of course, there's more writhing and gnashing of teeth because this, of course, is all very uncomfortable, especially for type A people who are looking to save. They're trying to check all the boxes and do the right thing. And I said, guys, what is the purpose of this plan? Is it exclusively for you just to enjoy your money when you're older?
Right.
Or does any of it need to be used in the short term for your present selves and your present family?
Sure, because you want to make sure, hey, can I retire and do I have enough money that I don't have to go back to work? And if something happens in the future, I have money for it then. That's important. But living for today is also important.
So there was like this catharsis that happened where they accepted, that not only did this possibly make sense, that this had been flying in their blind spot for a while. Watch them go through like the 7 stages of grief in terms of like letting down their older selves so that their present selves could enjoy themselves. And by the way, like this is not an age-related thing. It doesn't matter if you're 40 or you're 60 or you're 80. We all do these same things. We worry about the future. And as a result, we shortchange oftentimes what can be done in the present. And so it was at this moment I said to these guys, now do you kind of understand what a financial advisor does other than just putz around with the mutual funds and help you with the taxes? I mean, to me, that stuff is table stakes. A good financial advisor is supposed to move the X's and O's around routinely or behind the scenes. That's a good financial advisor. A great financial advisor is going to help marry the future with the present and push you to do those things that you've chosen, that you've declared that are important to you. But, you just can't give yourself the permission that you need to do it.
Sure.
You need something external to let you know that it's okay, that if we just move the sacrifice from either the present to the future or vice versa, that it's okay. Our present selves, our future selves, marrying that all together, giving that little nudge. Sometimes that's what it's all about.
The personal trainer is going to tell you that eventually you can have a chocolate pudding.
Sometimes, like, I get it. It's if you said you did your own dentistry, you'd look crazy. To me, saying you do your own financial advisory is kind of as crazy. And what I mean, like the X's and the O's, you can probably do that on your own. But can you give yourself your own nudge? Can you recognize where you're holding yourself back? Can you see your own prejudices and biases and where you're maybe driving your family crazy or you're shortchanging even yourself? Most people can't see that because you can't be objective about yourself. So what people will say is, well, guess what? I'm doing my own financial planning. Look at all the money I'm saving and the fees that I'm skimping out on. It's like, okay, like this is all presuming that you're doing the X's and O's as well as a professional. Leaving that aside, are you maximizing your enjoyment? Can some people do this? Sure. Most people probably need some help.
So that's why you have a financial coach in your back pocket.
If you're looking for a second opinion, not only about those X's and O's, but about the nudging and where you are in the present in relation to the future, click the link below, give us a chat.
If you liked this video and it helped you, watch another one. And don't forget to hit subscribe.